Hey YouTube, what's happening? Got an exciting review for you today. We're looking at the Strider PT Gen 3 full titanium. Not the most common of knives. The PTs have been around a long time. They've been making them for quite a while. But this one is the latest generation, Gen 3. So, go through the specs real quick. Overall length 3.5 inches. Your cutting edge is 2.3, and blade material is S30V on this one. Handle material is stress relief 6AL 4V titanium. Hardware is 6A 4LV titanium as well. And these knives literally ship to you in a Ziploc bag, and they call it a tactical Ziploc bag. So, been a long time waiting for one of these guys. And honestly, if you could have got one on the regular price, the price of $350, it's not bad at all for this knife. Secondary market, obviously they go higher, which is normal. One of those supply and demand kind of things. Same thing goes with the big brother, the SNG, and the even bigger brother, the SMF, which I don't have. I think the SNG is about the biggest I want to go. But I wanted to have this one out here for you. So they're doing this different grind on this latest variation of their knives, where they have this swedge right here, almost like a dagger. I love this wedge. It looks really good. It's more pronounced on the SNG, but it's looks really good on the PT as well. So I just wanted to show you a PT and SNG size comparison. So let's do some size comparisons real quick. The other small awesome knife is the Christopher's small Spensa. So very similar in size. I think the small Spensa is a little bit bigger, but not by a lot, but pretty close to the same size. This is the half dome that I did a video on. It's smaller than the PT. So PT has been one that I've always wanted, and I was pretty stoked when I heard they were doing. I just did a lot of cuts with this. And I did end up putting a nice polish edge on this because I had to sharpen it, so I thought, why not? But I was stoked when they were released again, and I was able to get one. Pretty happy about it. So it's been, had it for, how long have they been out? Over a week now, I believe. I'm carrying it pretty much every day, off and on, but most of the time this is the knife I carry, even if maybe sometimes I carry the SNG, and then I carry the PT as well, and you know, kind of have an office-friendly knife and a big beast of a knife if I need it. But I will tell you, like the SNG, the fit and finish on these PTs is really good. The action, watch this guy. Oh, of course I fell in it. It's snappy. It's got a nice snappy detent. It's smooth. It's pretty much drop shut. Nice detent on that. No play whatsoever. Nicely centered. This one's a great example. There was a few that came out that weren't, which is kind of surprising because of the small amount of knives they released. But yeah, no problems at all with mine. It's been fantastic. So full titanium on these. They usually come with a G10 scale, like a lot of Striders do. I don't know if they've ever, like this Strider SNG has the aluminum. I don't know if they've ever done aluminum on the PT. They probably have at one point, but typically the ones I've always seen have had G10 scales. So, but fit and finish on this one has been excellent, and no complaints whatsoever on that. So, going through my standard review format for the oh, sorry, my camera just decided to like lose some balance all of a sudden. So let me get that adjusted. What was holding it? It's now not holding it. That is what's weird. That is the strange thing. What is happening? Alright, I think we got it stabilized. Sorry about that. That was really strange. Tripod acting up on me. Alright, so we talked about the action, fit and finish being excellent on this guy. So ergonomics. I put this towards the front of my videos because it's a very important thing in knives, I think. And you don't really know how ergonomic a knife is by just holding it in your hand and putting it on video. And I've totally been guilty of this in the past, guys. 100% admit it. You pick it up and you're like, that's a really ergonomic knife. For like, I mean, the Para 3 is an example. Actually, the Para 2 is a better example where people pick it up and they're like, man, that is so ergonomic. And they actually use it. If they put it under hard use, they'd find it's really not that ergonomic. I think the Para 3 is better ergonomically than the Para 2, personally. But that's not what this video is about. The video is more about, or this part's about using the knife, testing those ergonomics. Because a lot of people look at a Strider and they think, what a weird handle shape. I'm just going to use the SNG. Well, I'll just put the SNG down, use the PT as an example. And they both do the same thing, how that has like this triangular shape to it here, where it kind of just flares out and kind of has a big butt, so to speak, and then it has this big butt area back here. And you look at that and you're like, that doesn't seem very comfortable or very nice. Then you actually put one in your freaking hand and you're like, holy mackerel, that works so well. It just fits your hand perfectly, and the same goes for the SNG. And I'm assuming the same for the SMF. Never had an SMF. But one of those things that you just got to hold in your hand to believe how ergonomic they are. That's just under holding the knife. Now, how about actually using the knife? So I think this is a good segue to put in some cut tests I did. Just some different cutting with some different materials, some different grips, just to test those ergonomics. So let's roll that in. Stay tuned. Alright, it's pouring rain, so we're going to do these cut tests inside today for this Strider PT, and see how it does in this grip here as far as ergonomics is concerned. And all that pushing down, a little bit of a hot spot right there in the middle of my hand, mostly from the tip of that clip. And I was gripping that pretty solid. Let's try not choking up with the choil, just back here in this grip. And we're going to try some pull cuts. Yeah, no real hot spots. Nothing feels uncomfortable back in that grip. I'm gonna switch back up to this using that forward choil. The choil is really not meant for a hammer grip, though. I mean, it's kind of an awkward grip. Your hammer grip's better back here, like I've been doing. And it's really biting into that wood. I did sharpen this guy because it did not come with the best edge directly from Strider. But now I just sharpened it at the factory angle, which was about 22.5 degrees. So that is comfortable. I wouldn't recommend doing this grip. The forward choil is more for precise cuts. You know, maybe more like that you don't need a lot of force for. More delicate cuts, I guess you'd say. And the ergonomics are really good in that grip. No hot spots whatsoever as well. But again, you're not putting as much pressure, but I was very impressed with how small this handle is, how well designed it is, and this grip, you know, doing these pull cuts on this wood. It's not the softest wood. It's pretty hard, actually. There's like a little knot right there and everything I'm hitting. Edge is holding up fine. It's very comfortable, and you could sit and whittle away at this stick all night without any hot spots, you know. Not necessarily what this knife was designed to do, but then this grip up here with this jimpy and this forward choil is really good for delicate cuts. Now, if you wanted to get even more delicate, hold the grip like that, you can use that little hole, the opening hole, for your thumb and your index finger, and you can really, you know, get some fine controlled cuts if you're cutting like a piece of fruit or something, you know, something you need, maybe skinning an animal or something. You could use that. But very versatile little freaking knife, man. It's an amazing little guy. I've always been a big fan of the PT, but I've never owned one. And when these came out, chance to grab one, I was like, heck yeah. Alright, so let's try the pull cut through the 1/2-inch sisal rope. See how we do there. Didn't quite make it through. Made it through a few ropes here. Let's do that again. There we go. It's a pretty hard pull cut, and you'll start to feel the ergonomics of the knife if it has hot spots. Nothing. Just having a hard time getting through that though. But you know what? Most knives I've tested have a hard time with this stuff. There you go. So yeah, it does good ergonomics, man. This Strider, Strider definitely knows how to design a knife handle, and he's used the same on the SNG for years, the SMF for years, the PT. They all use the same style handle. It's just different sizes of knife, and it goes right through that cardboard like nothing. So yeah, it's pretty thin behind the edge as well, which I really like. You don't typically think of a Strider being thin behind the edge, but my SNG and my PT here are very thin behind the edge. Nice, comfortable, ergonomic handle. Some really thick leather. It's from a Core Essentials belt. It's so thick. You really got to get it. Oh yeah, look at that. It's even like got some sort of reinforcement in there. So even in that grip, pressing down really hard, no problems at all. You can see it's pretty thick stuff, and it's got some sort of reinforcement in the middle. So really thick stuff. Edge still looks great. Do a couple more of these. I'll try them from this angle here. Yeah, that stuff's so thick. You can't cut down on it like that. This is definitely. I'm actually cutting through my mat there. I don't care. We got tons of these things. Edge looks good. So again, feels good in the hand. Making those kind of really hard cuts. Through some really thick leather. You gotta put a lot of pressure down to get through that stuff. Once you do, you're through. Very, very nice cutting performance. Thicker behind the edge knife would have had a hard time making that cut for sure. Alright guys, so as you can see, all the different types of cuts, hammer grip, this grip with choking up in the choil, you know, even using this little pinch grip and using a grip like this when cutting through that leather, nothing. I mean, a little teeny hot spot from the clip at one point when doing a really, really hard grip on this, just bearing down on it a little bit. But for the most part, super comfortable to use. It's a small freaking knife, guys. This is teeny. I mean, your overall length is 6 inches. No, a little more than 6 inches. Well, that can't be right. What is our overall length? Okay, it is over 6 inches, but not a lot. Not even 6.5 inches overall length. Pretty small freaking knife. Some of that stuff I was doing, you would typically want to do with a bigger knife, and guess what? The PT handled it like a champ. It is like one of the best user small knives that I've ever held in my hand, period. I would put it up there with the small Sebenza as being one of the best user small knives. When I say user, actually using the knife, having to put, you know, some pressure down, having to do certain cuts, they're both so good in the hand. The Strider and the Chris Reeve Sebenza. I mean, I would honestly say, if you're into small knives and want small knives, you need a PT as much as you need a small Sebenza. Serious, they're that good. I've always wanted to compare them because I've always been a huge small Sebenza fan. But guess what? The PT is as good, or could even be better in some aspects than the small Sebenza. So, but fantastic in the hand, super comfortable. Shocking because I can get it on like a big knife like the SNG. Definitely nice and comfy and doing those kind of harder cuts. You know, built what it's built for. But this little guy, it's a light duty EDC knife. No matter, you know, it's a smaller knife. Guess what? It can handle some harder tasks with like a champ. So definitely loving that. So ergonomics are fantastic. Aesthetics, I think it's an awesome looking blade. I've always loved Striders. Striders are definitely one of those things that some people love, some people don't. I love the looks of Striders, always have. So aesthetics are awesome, and this full titanium with that nice stone washing on the scales and the stone washing on the blade and that swedge up there. Ooh yeah, just looks good. It's a sexy. Such a good looking knife. So I love the aesthetics. The action is really good. I talked about it earlier. You can see it's almost dropped shut. It's got a great detent on this particular model. I had 2 of these actually, and I sold one to a friend. And this one I think has a snappier detent. That one didn't have quite a snappy detent, but both the actions were pretty good on both knives. So no complaints there at all. And that's on just phosphorus washers. Never taken it apart, never oiled it, no lube, no nothing. Just out of the box smoothness. Sliceability, that's where this thing really gets going. You saw how it just kind of glides through cardboard like no big deal. Cut through pretty much everything. The rope, you know, pretty much every knife I've done that sisal rope cut on, it's the 1/2 inch thick rope. It's pretty thick, and most of them don't fare terribly well. This one did pretty good, but you know, don't judge it by that. Thinnest behind the edge, I want to say it's about 14 with that. Well, that can't be right. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's getting 10,000ths. Let's see. Right behind the edge. 17. Let me do another one. Yep, 17 1/1000ths behind the edge is what I'm getting on this PT. That's pretty thin. Not as thin, you know, it could be like my crinary grind tinder is like under 10,000ths, but for a factory grind on a stouter knife, guess what? Cuts better than a lot of knives that are 20,000ths behind the edge. Surprising, right? Well, shouldn't be, but thinner behind the edge than this Chris Reeve Sebenza. This is about 20,000ths behind the edge. This Unsingo Sebenza, which is a great cutter. So Strider definitely knows how to do some nice blade geometry on their knives, no doubt about it. So very pleased with the sliceability, very slicey little knife. Cuts really well. Carries really nice too. Not what I would call a deep carry knife, by any means. You can get, MXG Gear does make a deep carry clip for these if you really want one. I think the Strider clip works just fine the way it is, but you're definitely not deep. You have that much sticking up. So, but it's small. Excuse me. And it's pretty lightweight. Let's get a weight on this guy. .2 ounces. Pretty light. What's the Sebenza? Under 3. 2.8. A little bit heavier than the Sebenza, but plenty lightweight for EDC use. So carries nicely. Good clip. It's lightweight. Doesn't take up a ton of space in the pocket. Works good in the coin pocket as well. So value-wise, I mean, this is our discussion on some of these kind of knives. When they're American-made and they're made in such small batches and they cost this much, like a Sebenza. I mean, Sebenzas are actually made more regularly than Striders are, but to compare, these two knives compare very, very well with each other, and the Strider's actually a better deal. You can't get a small, well, you can get a small plain Jane Sebenza for $350-ish, I think. I think they're $400, unless you're on the secondary market. The list price on these was $400. Secondary-wise, the Sebenzas are going to be better. There's more of them made, so there's more of them out there. But if you could get in on this initial drop, the $350 is definitely warranted. Now, S30V, no, not the, you know, it would have been nice to see like 20 CV like they did on the SNGs in the latest run. But Strider does a good job on their heat treat on S30, so it'll be it's perfectly fine. You know, no big deal. Would I have liked him 390 or something? Sure, but you know, I did not want to buy this PT because it had S30. That was not a deal breaker by any means, because I've always wanted one, and it does not disappoint. So X factor in this guy, why the Strider PT? Why do I like it so much? I've always loved the look of it. I always wanted a smaller version of an SNG, but actually using this knife and doing some of those cuts and stuff, I just actually blown away how impressed I am with the performance of this guy. It's fantastic. It's probably one of the best small, hard-use knives, if that's such a thing. But if you're like want a really good user knife that's not very big, I would look no further than a PT, man. Pick one up if you can find one, because for such a small knife, it's super capable and super comfortable to use, and has good edge geometry, nice and thin behind the edge, and yeah, can't say enough good things. Alright guys, that's my Strider PT review. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.